How's it going, guys? Zoro Fanboy 124 here, and I am here today with all of these Walking Dead fans to talk about, of course, The Walking Dead season number 4, episode 15. And this episode was definitely pretty damn good. I thought it was personally. We get a little bit of Daryl, with his new group of buddies, the fucked up group. We get a little bit of Glenn and Maggie with their little happy reunion. Yay, that was all good and nice with that little reunion. And of course, the end of the episode where kind of freaking me out, man. I don't know. Like I said, I've been saying this. Terminus, it seems too good to be true. That lady freaks me the fuck out. So I'm definitely skeptical right now about Terminus and whether or not it's a safe haven. I think it's more of a trap or something along those lines. But yeah, her acting all nice. I'm not buying it. I want to see more from Terminus. But it was a nice way to finally get to Terminus, although it took quite a while. But I'm still happy that we got there. Overall, in my opinion, good episode it was. So let's see what everyone else wants to say. Jim, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I enjoyed it because it was a departure from what we've been doing here for the most part in the second half of the season, which is focusing on individual characters. And although the Grove was a real great, powerful episode, man, we really needed a win. Like on one hand, I thought that it was cheesy and storybook and everything the way it went with Glenn finding Maggie. But if you think about it, we needed a win. We needed something positive. Because after last week's episode, I was like, oh, my God, I want to go hang myself in the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
bad, yeah.
But I think after seeing this week, they gave you the throwaway scene with Rick and Carl and Michonne, which was a few minutes just to show, like, hey, they're still alive. Because we haven't seen them in a month, but it was nice to follow a couple different groups to get some things happening, and and poor Daryl, man, can the guy catch a break? He hanging out with these fucking Marlboro Men rejects, man. Claimed.
Claimed.
Oh, God. Anyway, overall though, yeah, I thought it was good. I thought there was a lot of action, a lot happened, and it was nice to finally see some groups come together. So seeing Abraham's, whatever group came together, I remember last week I just said, I just hope some of the groups come together, so I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
Definitely. All right, so we got a new guest here for today. Say hello, Teching.
Hello, everybody. Teching101 here. The episode got me really excited upon watching it last night, just because I knew that eventually, near the end of the series, we were going to get to Terminus, and this was going to be kind of the place where the hub where everyone was going to meet back up again and just connect and deal with some new threat, whatever that may be. I liked a couple things. Like, we found out with Daryl and Joe and his gang, they're actually been tailing Rick this entire time, apparently from what he did back at that house when he killed one of their men. So I'm waiting to see how that's all going to boil down, if they eventually reach Terminus and they're going to find Rick, and how that's going to work, because Daryl still has no idea that's who they're following, how that's going to work out. Aside from that, when we finally reached Terminus and that lady there who said was very creepy, indeed she was, I was a little bit disingenuous exactly when they get there what it's going to look like, and it turns out to be like this giant building with no locks and there's no guards at all, and there's just apparently just one woman in the entire place, and I'm just, this isn't right. This seems like some kind of trap or some such.
Yeah.
But I'm just waiting, and if you saw the preview for next episode, after it was like this really distorted, like Welcome to Terminus, like played on permanent repeat, and it was like this like siren playing in the background. There's this really just creepy feel to it.
Yeah, I got a feeling they're hacking people up in the basement or something.
Yeah, I was thinking cannibalism.
She's cooking people. He's barbecuing people.
That's what I'm thinking. And with the name Mary, I was catching the kind of biblical reference, too. And then that Gareth or Gabriel that supposedly took Beth, I'm thinking that probably ties in together. Yeah. And then I thought it was neat, too, like you said, Teching, that we found out that, because I had mentioned a few weeks ago when Daryl happened upon those guys, the Sons of Anarchy guys, whatever, I said, I bet you these guys are looking for Rick, for what happened. And sure as shit, he's like, hey, he choked out one of our guys. He came back, took on some of our other guys. So they're out for blood, and I think it's all going to culminate with all these groups, at Terminus or near Terminus,
I actually forgot for a minute there, because they said, did they see his face, like Rick's face? And he's like, yeah, that guy did. I'm like, wait, who saw Rick? And I remember that one guy that almost got choked to death.
The dude that was getting
right before he passed out, he saw Rick. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to go back and watch that episode and see if those guys fighting over the bed, if one of them
and they say
claimed. If one of them actually said claimed, So.
And that was the name of the episode. Okay, that's where that comes from.
Yeah, there we go. That's actually pretty interesting. So what do you thought about the episode, Kai?
Oh well, generally I like the episode, and I like some things that was going on during the episode. The things I didn't really like in the episode was Eugene, because for some reason, I think we all know that Eugene don't know what the hell he's talking about most of the time.
Eugene
Yeah.
talking about video games with
Yeah.
fucking dinosaurs.
Make it
Exactly. He seems I don't know, like he's not necessarily attached to reality, and might be part of his claim about him, knowing the secrets of the zombie apocalypse. He might just be all made up in his fucking head. He seems like
Right. He could have just made something and just told the group like,
I'm
oh,
waiting for him to get to DC, and he'll be like, okay, what caused all this? It was the aliens.
He
Right.
reminds me of like
Took my
Dustin
mom.
Hoffman from Rain Man. You know what I mean? He's a 82. My dad only lets me drive the car on Sundays. He just sort of seems like he's not socially there,
Right.
But I think he's one of those people that like he's like a working genius in his own head. You know what I mean? But he has no social skills whatsoever.
It's
So-
like he's clearly smart because he was like, oh well, if Glenn and the gang continue to travel like 3 miles an hour, they're gonna ride here.
and that was pretty slick how
Yeah.
he gets Abraham's dumb ass to go and lay down. He's like, he's he's a dumb animal. He'll lay down in the back. And then he's got Rosita, who's directionally challenged, driving. And he's like, left, and she's like, that's the third left you've had me make. And, it's like, and he's just looking like you finally figured it out, huh, tits? So, I thought it was funny.
exactly.
Trust me, I'm smarter than you.
I like when he talked about the zombie video game though with the dinosaurs. And he's like, he goes, "That's a game that's worth a pre-order right there." And I was like, "Oh, I was rolling."
That was the zombie tyrannosaur taking on a dilophosaur. That'd be.
I think it was a game like that called Dino Crisis or something.
Yeah, Dino Crisis. Yeah,
Dude,
So there we go.
they're making Jurassic Park 4. That's what it needs to be.
There you go, fucking dinosaurs running around.
yeah. They are making another Jurassic Park, by the way, too. It's off topic, but it's called Jurassic World. So it just starts shooting in June.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice, very nice. So, what about you, Rick? What did you think about this episode this week?
I did enjoy the episode. I like the fact that we actually had real story progression. That's something I think we needed for quite a few episodes. Only because it's like the past couple episodes, the second half has almost been almost episodic in a sense, where it's like each focusing on each group, but no actual real story progression. Just kind of seems that
it's been too compartmentalized almost, to individual people. That's what I was,
like straight episodic. It's been straight episodic, and now it's all coming together. Does it feel like season finale time? Honestly, no, it doesn't. Not to me. It was good episode, but it doesn't feel like season finale time. Like Terminus shouldn't getting to Terminus. I don't think should unless it's like an end off. I think it's gonna end off on some big cliffhanger. The season is,
Right.
but there should be more after getting to Terminus.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
I think what a lot might have hurt it this season was that the mid-season finale is probably going to outshine the season finale.
Exactly.
Oh, that it
By
does.
an order of magnitude.
Yeah. There was so much build up to that season finale that was pretty much a given. And considering that we're basically just getting the Terminus now, no matter what happens at Terminus, it's not going to be any more dramatic, over the top, or as intense as what happened in the mid-season finale, no matter what they do. It doesn't,
Now, granted, it's probably going to be better than what we got from the third season finale, which I think was the weakest one in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like even if they find out there's bodies in the basement and this woman's been killing and eating them all, I'm like, okay. I saw
It was a good episode. It was a good episode.
Unless, and someone commented about this, Vendettas, unless one of those bodies happens to be Beth.
Ooh,
You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
that would be
That would be a pretty big season finale craziness. So do you see Rick's group reaching Terminus, or any other group reaching the Terminus, or is it just going to be the first group that reaches, and then, we'll deal with everything else afterwards? Do you think?
Well, looking at the preview and looking at the extra look that was shown on Talking Dead, it doesn't even look like Rick's group's following the tracks, because they were off hunting.
yeah, they were
So I
all.
don't know if they were
Looks
making
like
a
at some
detour
point.
to get some food, or if they're. I don't know what they're doing specifically.
They
So,
want to track this
Out of
episode, though.
context shots, but we still.
Yeah, and honestly too, we see Abraham and that group walk up at the end of it, and there's no guards, there's no gates, and everything else. And we presume that they're the first ones there, but we have no idea. We have no idea if Tyrese and Carol and Judas showed up the day before. They're there and they got taken off, and hey, let's get you some food and get you a nice warm bed, and they're like sitting chained up right now. And because I'm thinking it's all going to culminate with Rick and them coming upon Terminus and finding out that it's not what it's cracked up to be. and that, you know, and then finding out that some others that they know are already there and being held. Maybe somebody escapes, maybe somebody gets out and meets him, you know, along the way. And then I think Daryl's group catches up with them as well and is going to attack him. And once Daryl figures out what's going on, he goes all fucking redneck, you know, because, you know, Daryl's good for about 2 or 3 good bow kills.
Yeah, really.
You know,
you just gave me a good idea. What if you're right and Carol and like Tyrese do show up and like they say them? Because Mary acted like when she saw the group in this episode, she seemed kind of like expecting them in a degree.
She was waiting. She had all that meat on the barbecue.
Carol
She didn't eat all that shit by herself.
Yeah, maybe Carol and Tyrese showed up like, oh yeah, we had this place and it got wrecked and we're trying to meet up all of our friends here. And Mary's like, oh okay, that would be nice.
Yeah, it's freaking me out, man.
Yeah,
like, I'm wondering, like, as soon as they walk through all like the front gates, I was expecting people to be everywhere, but there's no one there. So it's just so many signs of this place.
It's apparently just Mary and this Garrett guy that we haven't even seen yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we'll find out that Beth is there. And then, I said,
I have no doubt that she's there.
Yeah. And then I just think that everything's going to wind up converging in or around Terminus, and I'm sure they'll leave us with some kind of catastrophic, you know, oh shit cliffhanger. I'm not even so sure that they're actually going to kill anybody next week. They may not. After the disturbing deaths of the 2 little girls last week, they may just leave it hanging to where someone is about to die, and then that's how they leave us until September or October, you know, later on in the year for season 5. So that's where I think it might go as well. You know, some people are saying that, you know, that Rick may be on the chopping block. That's why he's been in the second half of the season so little. They're backing him off from screen time so people won't hurt fans as much, and it's supposed to be controversial.
I don't think that's possible to kill
There's so much rumors and everything else though going on, and I've been reading the comic book. I'm now caught up in the issues where they're at about right now, and it's so completely night and day different. It's not even worth comparing anymore. It's not even worth guessing. There's nothing that, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this could be. It's told in such a different manner, and there's so many different characters that are alive.
Yeah,
that it's guesswork at best to try to go and piece.
They mix and match a lot of things. Like if you've read the comics, Jim, I'm still waiting for Rick to lose a hand.
Oh, yeah.
I think that ship has sailed. I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I think it has because Kirkman said that was one of the biggest. He said that was one of the biggest mistakes he ever made was having Rick lose his hand, because he painted himself into a corner with what was his main character after that. So I think that was one that they cut out for many reasons from the TV show. Yeah. You know, so
yeah, I heard the same thing.
Merle still lost a hand though, you know, so it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's impossible to do it like that. I mean, they can do it.
I can't see them killing Rick because there's no character. There's no character strong enough to be the lead character. There at one point there was, but now the way it is, there's no one strong enough as far as the character to take Rick's place as main character.
Daryl can't hold a show on his own.
Yeah, and honestly, and I don't really like this guy Abraham. I'm not really sold on him. You know, his little wisecracks and my left nut and all that stuff. I think he's there for like little comedic relief. Yeah. And he's almost playing like this big, larger than life like action hero. You know, like Sergeant Slaughter, if anybody remembers from G.I. Joe. You know, always yelling at people, and he's like always got some witty wisecrack. You know, like he knew that Tara was a lesbian before she told him. He's like, I caught you eyeballing Rosita's tits the other day when she was feeding you. It's like, you know, he just thinks he's this wise guy, but he's not a likable character to me. You know, really? I don't. Well, I think he's all right, but I just don't think he's not somebody who's integrated well enough with the show yet. Where I can't say it'd have to be a good another season before I really felt like he could be a mainstay character. I'm just starting to warm up to Tyrese now, and he's been around since, you know, the earlier part of last season. You know, I mean, if you think about it. So people I think they made a mistake in the second and third season by killing off too many main characters and not introducing enough new ones. Because now we're at that point where, thank God, they've only killed Herschel off as a main character. I mean, the 2 little girls were just introduced this year anyway, so I don't really count them.
Right.
Because these other characters needed to redevelop and reassert themselves. Glenn had gotten to the point where he was unlikable. And at least now he's come back, and in my eyes, he's a little more of a likable character again, you know what I mean?
Right.
But some of these characters, I feel like, we need more time to warm up to Abraham and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Because like you said, when they kill off a main character and they bring like somebody else on, even if it's somebody from the comic books, like Abraham's in the comic books for a long time, but that's not this Abraham. It could be somebody completely different.
Yeah. And the same thing, way characters introduced and everything else. I mean, I'm starting to warm up to Tyrese, but he's, I mean, the guy's been around for a season now, so I think it was a good move. Is I guess my whole point to this, them not killing many main characters thus far. They're not doing. You don't need to go and kill somebody off just for shock value, and especially too because you're not really following the comics anyway. So there's no point in killing people just to kill people.
I think that's the point of killing them.
Yeah, I think we had a necessary amount of deaths with all the red shirts and the people and the kids in the bus that escaped the prison in the mid-season finale. That was sad, right?
I mean, the issue I have, not really an issue, but the problem the show has is they have right now too many characters. Too many important characters. I mean, just look at the different groups that we have. They can't put them all into one episode. There are just I think there are too many characters. And the problem is because when you have too many characters, not the main characters that you want to focus on can't get focused on. You have to focus on so many different aspects of the show. You can't focus on a certain group of characters that you want to build up.
Absolutely. So, or if you split apart and you give individual characters their development, their due time, like they've been doing now, you feel like we've gone through a half a season. You haven't seen enough of any of the characters.
Exactly.
So no, I understand what you mean about that, but that's why I think that everything's going to come together, and by the end of the season, we're going to culminate and have either one or two groups at most. So there won't be a lot of that back and forth anymore, because if you remember, even when we had a larger group in the first, second, even third seasons, as long as they were following that group and the exploits of that group, it split off into stuff like we were fine. You know what I mean? We saw everybody just fine. It wasn't until this season that they started taking away from that group for major episodes, and then the second half of the season they've really just kind of been all over the place. A whole Daryl and Beth episode, a whole episode with Tyrese and all the crazy kids and Daryl and stuff. And then a couple of the other episodes.
That reminded me like a lot of how like a manga chapter does it, where you have like a whole group of people and then they get separated in different battles, and like one chapter for this battle, one chapter for this battle.
One Piece is a big example of that.
Bleach does it too.
The nice thing though about that is that you have consistency as far as 48, 50 chapters per year once a week. This you get 16 episodes and that's it. I mean, after next week we're done until October. We're done until through the summer, guys. Halloween, coming up around Halloween is when we're going to see them again. So
it could be that they split them into too many groups. Possibly that could have been a problem, because they didn't honestly. If you look at it, there were more characters in season 1, but season 1 had that perfect format where you had home camp and you had a group going on a run, which is pretty much what season 1 was.
Yeah, you only had to follow as much as two groups at once.
Right, and you go back and forth.
Everybody was centralized for the most part. When someone broke off, it was for a brief period of time until they met up with the major group or what have you. So I think that really they were trying to give us that feeling of loss and just complete emptiness that everybody felt safe in the prison, right? So they took the safety away. They wanted to scatter everybody to the four winds. I think they spent a little too much time with some of it, and I think that if they would have reworked some of the scenes in the episodes, so each episode included at least a couple of groups, I think we'd all feel a little more satisfied. But I think because they did some of that, you got to remember the first episode back from the 3-month break was just Michonne and Carl and a Rick that was passed out and almost died. That was it. It was Carl and Pudding and Michonne and going off the deep end and whatnot, And then we had a Daryl and Beth exclusive episode. We had the one last week, of course. And those 3 episodes right there, if you look at those, really only focused on one particular small, tiny group out of the, we have 6 of them, I think, at one point,
Exactly.
So I just think that they haven't mixed up the screen time as well as they might have been able to. And I think we might all be sitting here having watched the same content, but in a different order and saying, hey, this wasn't so bad, But as it is, I think that they fractured it a little too much, and then they kind of too little too late here in the last minute trying to pull it all together,
Once the group combines and comes back together, even if it's 1 or 2 groups, I think as long as they have some kind of goal and the characters are back together interacting, it'll be fun.
We had Glenn's and Abraham's group that are already together, so that means we only have 3 at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That was good that they combined in that episode, made it. So that's a big group right there.
What I think might possibly happen, I think if they're not already there, Tyrese and Carl will get to Terminus. I think Rick's group is going to come past with Daryl's new group, the biker wannabe people.
Yeah, they'll catch up.
And they're going to have that conflict. And obviously Daryl's going to choose Rick over them easily. And so you're probably going to have if there's a conflict or Terminus, you're gonna have like that's the two stories going to be next episode. I think it's going to be Rick and Daryl's group, those two groups, and then you're going to have Terminus.
The problem is they're going to have to cover all this in like one episode, though.
Exactly.
Like 2 hours or something.
Yeah, but it's not going to be 2 hours.
It's not going to be 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
it's
maybe
unfortunate.
season finale it might stretch like an extra couple minutes, but that's all we're going to get.
Yeah, they'll put a couple less commercials, and we might get 42.5 minutes instead of like the standard.
Right.
40,
From the preview, it looked like it was going to focus on Rick, so it might just be the conflict with the people that Daryl are with, and then maybe it's a little bit of
yeah.
That's about it.
Get
It
ready
might
for
be.
the-
I honestly feel like to leave you hanging though in what is this? This is the end of March. To leave me hanging for 6 months essentially, not knowing anything about any of those other groups, I think would be it would be a bad move, honestly. Whether you love or hate Beth or whatever, they're going to show something in this episode. Where
I'm
she
not saying they're
went
going to
with
focus on Rick, but they'll
yeah.
show little scenes of everyone else.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that they do a nice job of incorporating and integrating all of the characters in, or at least the majority of them.
Then again, they might want to really make sure you watch season 5, so they might do that. But it would be kind of a dick move.
That's true.
At this point, they could phone it in, man. They don't even,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm half convinced that Beth is a cheeseburger right now. I'm being honest. I don't know, man.
I don't want her to
know,
die.
man.
She wasn't really much of a character in season 2 when we first introduced her. She was like she almost killed herself that one episode, and that was pretty much all the screen time she got.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't really talk much, and it wasn't really until like halfway through season 3 we really got to get some personality from her. And I don't want her to die so soon.
Yeah,
but maybe the reason why she got the personality is because it was setting
Because
up for
it's
death.
time to die, Beth.
That's what I'm saying. Whenever they seem to give the unknown character or the very low valued character time, then that character ends up dying. That's just the way it is. Look at T-Dog.
Yeah.
That was already started to talk, man.
Yeah,
And you know what though? That's the formula they went with in the second and third season, especially. It became almost a joke, when they would develop a character that hadn't been seen much. He or she would die, get a bullet in their head, whatever, that episode or the preceding episode. But in this season, I think they did a good job of getting away from that a little bit. It wasn't as much of a tried and true formula. And really, what they've done over the last 7 episodes is they've developed all of the characters, all of the 5 or 6 groups that are now down to 4. On their way or at Terminus. They've developed them enough to where it's anybody's guess who they may kill. And really, after the scene last week with Carol and Tyrese, it would be impactful for either one of them to go. Maybe trying to save the baby, maybe trying to, who knows. And Beth, I know that obviously there's a lot of people don't really like her. However, she still is a character they took some time to develop, so that could be somebody too. A lot of people have thought that maybe Daryl would go. I'd say they got too many right hand men right now. If they're not going to kill Rick, kill Daryl.
Daryl,
He gets caught in the crossfire and defending.
I think they shifted Tyrese's role though, from the comic books.
I think they shifted his role. Yeah.
He's not the right hand man that he is in the comic books.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter anyway because in the comic books he's only there for he comes in earlier, but he's done it. He's done in Herschel's place in he's in Herschel's scene is what he's in the comic book. So he would have already been dead and gone anyway, So
sure, yeah.
But I mean the only characters that they haven't really taken much time to develop and they've tried is Tara. They've tried to make everybody know that she's lesbian, So obviously that's it's the jumping on the gay pride bandwagon for The Walking Dead because really that has no bearing at all on anything. They just keep throwing that out there, and it's just like like when Eugene's like, "Yeah, you're hot," and she's like, "Oh, I like chicks." It's like that was so unnecessary. That was I could have done without that line. Like I have nothing against that, but like you shoehorn that in there,
Yeah, that's kind of like I heard from one of the directors that she was lesbian, but I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know about that. Maybe they'll throw some subtle hints into her character, and they just flat out came and said, oh, I'm lesbian.
Pretty much any episode she's in, they got to talk about her playing for the other team, and I mean that's nice and everything, whatever, good for you. Yeah. But so
that's like if they introduce a new guy character and he's like, hey, what's your name? He's like, I like guys.
How about in the episode? Though, Rosita going and opening her mouth up, man, and yelling at Glenn and being like, man, look at you're a bitch or whatever she called him. She's like, can't you see that she would follow you into hell type of thing? She's not going to tell you things. You're being a dick, I thought that was funny, And Glenn's just like. And Glenn's funny. Glenn's just like, fuck all y'all, man. Listen, I didn't tell anybody you had to come with me. It doesn't matter to me whether you do or not. I am going towards the love of my life and the only pussy that I have right now guaranteed on the planet. You know what I mean? So,
right.
And And think about how much of a long shot it was that Maggie was even alive. Then he goes and he sees the blood thing, and yeah, it was cliche. It was, it was that type of storybook moment. But at the same time, if I was Glenn, I'd be running too, boy. I'd be like Forrest Gump running down them tracks, man. You wouldn't be able to slow me down.
They should have just played the soft, corny '90s music, though.
Yeah, they
don't you forget about me.
Oh, God.
Breakfast Club shit, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw that, though, that's what I was
Glenn
thinking.
was annoying in this episode. Glenn was very annoying in this episode. His one set mind, it's just like, ugh.
I'm sorry. Glenn's become a bitch, man. I love Glenn. I love Glenn so much. He's one of my favorite characters. He was probably my favorite character. I liked him more than Rick at a certain point. And he just changed. I've said this a million times on these streams. I don't want to be a broken record, but he's just become such. I mean, I get it. Romance is a great thing. She loved her, great, but it's just so just shoved in my face, down the throat. That's all he cares about. Like, he didn't care to find anybody else in the group. He's, Rick is one of his friends. You know what I'm saying? One of his was dudes, but he only cared about one person. It's just like, dude, we get it. You love the girl, but
it's very important.
Anything else? You're right. He's one-track-minded. That's all he can think about. It's fucking frustrating, annoying.
Zorro's bringing out the bros before O's card.
I'm just saying, man.
Television right now, it's like they can't do relationships without having this obsessive codependent ship kind of thing. It's like a lot of shows do that shit nowadays.
It does, and and it may too. I try to look at things from both sides of the coin. It can be annoying as hell, but and that's on one note. But on the other note, how many of you guys all going? Oh yeah, bros before hoes, bros before hoes. But how many of you guys have had a buddy?
That.
How many of you guys have had a buddy or whatever the case is, though, that you go and you see him get? And this is not even the apocalypse, and they get infatuated over someone. Glenn, this is the only time he's ever had anybody that gave a shit about him. From what we understand about his background, he didn't have much family or anything else, And so I try to look at it from both sides.
I thought he had a pretty normal life before the apocalypse. I thought he had a pretty normal life.
He's a delivery boy, but he probably didn't get laid or anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming, So now you've got this chick that's like a 10. She's way out of his league, I think. And it's the only thing that he's really got in life right now. So yeah, he's changed, but on the same token, I mean, could any of you say that you would really truly be the same?
No, Joe, I'm not saying that it's understandable. I'm just saying that it's really annoying. That's a difference.
Oh yeah, that the characters become annoying.
My thing is I
understand it completely. I completely understand it, but it's just still to see it and just have it
it's just unreasonableness.
You get it. It just bothers you.
We get it. We get it, Glenn. You love the girl. We get it.
Because for me, it's how unreasonable he is.
Yeah.
Literally, they're Abraham and them. They were like, we're not. It's not that we're not going to go. We don't want to go down that tunnel. So let's just go around. And he's like, nah, that'll take too long. And it's like,
he must have got the girl killed because of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's also how did Maggie get through that tunnel? Because
Maggie was caught in that tunnel she caused the cave-in.
Right.
Oh right, yeah.
She was talking about they basically ran into a herd in there and they ran out of ammo and they pretty much somehow or another she was talking about they pretty much escalated and caused that cave-in.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so when Abraham's group was at the other side and they were like, oh shit, look at that. I think they saw that group maybe running, maybe cornered, and maybe they helped them and then they all joined up or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
But.
It was a dumbass idea.
It is what it is. But I wanted to show the subscribers this because I don't think you came in a little later, Jay. You didn't see this. I showed this before the show. A subscriber sent this to me, and I want you to take a look at this. I'm going to screen share. Give me 1 second. Let me screen share this so you guys can see it. It's a picture right here. Do you guys see it?
Yeah.
I can zoom in a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. Okay. So the top, I think, is more coincidental symbolism, like we were saying before, more than anything about the sunflowers. But the bottom, with that picture that was shown of the woman and Mary at Terminus, the picture, it's freaking identical. The hairstyle, the look, I think that's
cool.
Right. Whoever found this?
There's your next drawing thing, Jim.
Yeah, right.
It's possible that was her house.
I wonder if that was something that you're supposed to make the connection on, or if that was one of those, or if that was one of those inside things that they do. Sometimes the cast and crew they'll do that stuff. The crew will do some weird stuff. Like they said that the puzzle in the Grove that Tyrese and Carol were putting together, or that was on the table across from them. Remember when she told Tyrese and everything? That puzzle, it wasn't completed, but I guess they made it had a custom-made puzzle, and it was Sophia's face. So I guess the director, I guess, came up to her right before they shot that scene where she told Tyrese she killed them and everything, and he showed her what the puzzle actually was, and he was hoping that it would evoke some emotion for her. But they actually went and had a custom printed puzzle, like a little inside thing to do, kind of like an Easter egg. So I wonder if it was like, you know what I mean? If it's something that's intentional, you're supposed to catch, and there is a connection, or if it was something that they just did as like a.
I think it does have connection.
Do you think it does? Yeah.
That picture was an emotional scene. Like, you remember this? It wasn't emotional, but it was like, you remember her looking at the poster and be like freaked out by it, Michonne. I think they intentionally focus on that picture for a particular reason. I really do. If you go back to that scene,
you think Michonne has a connection to her?
No, it just. I think it was more foreshadowing. It was more foreshadowing of her, and something that they hoped that someone would catch, which they did, obviously. I don't think it was just there for an Easter egg.
Which people did because we're the internet.
Exactly. You can't get things past people anymore. It's just not gonna happen.
Easter eggs aren't fun anymore.
Yeah. But don't spoil it for me. It's too late, bro. We got the internet.
Oh yeah.
Well, it used to be cool when I was younger, and you'd be like, yeah, did you see on the Disney cover of Aladdin? There's a penis drawn in the clouds, and you were like, whoa, really? And you'd go and pull out your copy. Oh yeah, dude, the Disney guys, the animators, were always putting all kinds of fucked up adult jokes and stuff, and they're looking up and Google it. They got a whole. There's like a whole public site dedicated to it now.
Disneyland is like that too.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff like that, but I remember hearing about that stuff back before social media was real big, and you'd hear about it, and you'd have to verify it, and you had to see it with your own eyes, whereas now you just look it up, But
exactly, man. There's a lot of Disney fucked up shit, right?
Yeah.
Like a whole 20-minute video on it, like it's crazy. It really is. It really is. I think this is off topic, but during the Little Mermaid, the freaking priest had a boner or something. It was weird.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely insane. But anyway, let's try to get some comments here. Mr. Chiron12 said, "Am I the only one who thought that Glenn was kind of a dick in the beginning of the?" Well, we kind of talked about that already. Yeah, he was kind of a dick. I thought personally, but yeah. So
at least he didn't leave her behind.
That's true. He did at the end of it decide, "Oh fuck it, I'm gonna shoot these zombies in the face." He didn't leave her. But I mean,
I love how he ran out of bullets, and there was they were just flooding around the corner, and he just had that look like, "Oh, this is it, right? I got nothing else," And then all of a sudden, in typical action movie, fashion, all of a sudden the lights come on, and and just like a hail of gunfire takes him out. I'm like, "Oh God, really?"
Oh yeah, I
Die Hard 7.
Starring Abraham.
Yeah. I was just happy that two of the groups, though, did meet up finally.
Yeah,
I didn't care which groups, to tell you the truth. And to be honest with you, I thought that Maggie's group and Glenn actually coming together was a long shot. I was assuming that somebody was going to meet up, though, this week. That's what I was hoping for. Just seeing some of these small fractured groups at least come into a little bit of a bigger one. And for some people to have some hope, like, hey, there's others out there from the prison, So
that's true. That's true. That's a good question from Andres Camacho. He says, "Do you think that Rick's group will kill all or some of Dale's group in the finale?"
Yes. Not
these
all.
These are the kind of guys, I don't know, Joe seems very, he likes order to a sense. Mm-hmm. So if he ever runs across, Rick, I don't know if he's, immediately just going to be, shoot him in the head. He might, say, right. You killed one of our friends, so we need to get some retribution here.
Yeah, we need to kick the shit out of you and then leave you for dead and put an arrow through your eye.
Dude, when that happened and Daryl walks outside and he sees him, I was so expecting Daryl to just reach down, grab the arrow out of his eye, and just say, "Claimed," and just rip the thing out.
That would have been funny.
I thought it was funny, though, that he's about to put the sheet on. He's like, "Nah, fuck this guy."
Fuck that
guy. Daryl's like, "Fuck that, I'm going to save all my niceness for Beth."
Oh, man. It's funny. Daryl's about to stab that dude when he was talking shit about Beth. I don't know. The more that they talk about Beth and everything, it just seems like a weird relationship. This is kind of, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Because he was basically spot on with "Oh, you little girl that you like, man." I was like,
"Oh yeah."
Shit. It's kind of weird, man. The way they keep.
Did something happen off camera?
Maybe, I don't know, man. It's creepy, dude.
Yeah, if it happened, it happened when they were hammering on the moonshine. So.
Oh yeah, or something.
This is a really good comment. Why hasn't anyone asked Eugene about the supposed cure? They may not understand everything in detail, but I'm sure they could get a basic idea. If that's the reason, it will be If that's the reason it will take Eugene so long to say he doesn't know for sure, the backlash would be immense.
I mean, didn't he say it was classified? That's why
he just said it was classified, and basically, yeah. I mean, that's
Yes, pass.
It's funny.
But I think that's a bullshit excuse though. Like I've always hated that about movies or shows or whatever. Like when you ask for an answer and someone doesn't give it to you, like I don't know about you guys, but I'd probably beat it out of him. Like he would either tell me what I wanted to know or I would probably kill him. Because at the end of the world and living like I had for the last year and a half, ragged and everything else, seeing all these people die around me, and then they have this mullet-wearing motherfucker come on and tell me that I know the cure, I know what Stardust is, you need to take me to Washington, I'd be like, yeah, dude, let's start talking, boy.
It's like, it's even worse because they keep hammering it in, like they're around the campfire. You can just see the guys just like, so I know what caused all this, but I'm not going to totally tell you. Because
I don't think that he actually knows. I really think that this is all in his head. Like he obviously is a person that before the apocalypse was just some kind of super nerd
you gotta
playing video games and not really attached to reality. But
does Abraham and Rosita even know? Because they're agreeing.
No, they don't. They're just following along. Abraham's just basically taking it on as a mission.
The reason why I believe this is because Eugene was also the person that said, "Oh, let's go to Terminus first. Let's not go to Washington quite yet. Let's go to Terminus first, and then we can go afterwards." He seems to be, and he was also the person that said, "Oh, we can go along with them in the meantime, get a car, and then go to Washington." He's buying time. I really don't believe he actually knows the truth of all this.
It's a theme of, like, I learned this in psychology, is that in the times of, like, there's, like, chaos everywhere, people like to think they know how to figure it out, or they can be helpful.
Yeah, and even if he can,
obviously Eugene is not very, like you said, not very social, so he really can't help out in that sense, but if he's just like, oh, I'm a smart guy, if I tell them. And maybe he actually thinks that. Maybe he told himself that so many times, I know the cure, I can fix this. He actually started believing in himself.
And who knows? He might actually know, too, but it might be at the point where it's too far gone. You're not going to be able to bring back the ones that are already dead.
No,
so you might have a means to an end, but if there's no way to distribute it or manufacture it, it may be a dead end anyway. You know what I mean? You can have all the knowledge in the world. I can cure cancer, but if I can't get you the things to, you know what I mean? If I can't give you the cure,
if there's no Washington to go back to.
It was like, I can cure your lung cancer, but you've already removed one of your lungs. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
If Eugene was one of these military brainiac think tank guys, the whole lack of social skills, that's understandable, because if you look a lot of times in TV shows and movies, that's how they are. They don't know how to interact with normal people.
Yeah, because they live in front of a computer and they're kept under lock and key anyway by the government, so they don't release any of the secrets that they're working on for world domination or whatever, So that's.
But I think maybe he is a part of Terminus. That's why he said, let's go to Terminus first. Maybe he's like that bait that lures them to it. Maybe that's what his job was. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They talked about how they were on their way from Houston to Washington, that they were 55% of the way there when he was doing all his calculations. So they've been on a long, hard journey, because that's about a 1,500-mile trip. And I want to say that making it 700-800 miles in the apocalypse when you have to clear cars off roads, and I imagine that's a pretty decent jaunt for us. So I don't know, though. I don't know. I mean, I don't trust him, but I don't know that he's involved in any of this stuff with this Terminus. But I mean, I could be wrong too. So.
Wasn't there a scene when they were first introduced that he was talking to people in D.C. before, like, all the radio went dead or something?
That's what he was saying. Yeah, that he was in communication with them before things went dead out there. So then now he's just trying to get there, to kind of see what happened.
I mean, you read the comics. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing in the anime, but
I haven't. Where I'm at in the comics right now is right about where they're at in the story right now.
Okay.
Like Abraham and Eugene have just been
somewhere, and DC's not, like, fully operational.
I don't know. Supposedly it's supposed to be some kind of safe zone there.
It's called
Dead's always talking about it. So Alexandra, yeah. Dead's always talking about it on here because he's read ahead in the comics. So.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, if there is some semblance of stability somewhere for government, whatever, like, why don't we see more military planes or tanks or something going on? I know it's like the backwoods of Georgia, so there's not going to be a lot of traffic.
The
helicopter. Yeah. Didn't the helicopter crash?
Yeah. I don't think that there's anything big.
It ran out of fuel, so.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything big enough, though, to where it's actually organized. I mean, you might have an outpost being held here or there somewhere in the United States, but I think for the most part, and I think we'll see this as it goes on, I don't think there's any major settlements anywhere. You know what I mean? There might be some area where it's, a Walmart and there's a couple hundred people huddled up in there, like some kind of mall or something like that, where they've gotten into some relative safety, but I don't think that there's anything organized, I don't know, though. I'm not sure because I haven't read, again, that far ahead in the comics. So.
I mean, I don't know. It seems hard, like, to believe that there's a strong centralized government still around. After, I mean, we just haven't seen enough government forces.
It's like over 2 years now since.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
That's my thought
It would
process.
have happened if it was still around, though.
And like, thinking about DC, DC's a very populated area. The populated areas are the ones that are the most dangerous areas.
Yeah, exactly.
So why would they want to go? How are they going to even get to DC? Remember Atlanta? I'm pretty sure Atlanta's not even.
Like, upcoming for season 5, they're going to be heading to DC.
Yeah, I know they are, but I'm just saying, like, it's going to be insane how they're going to be able to get to.
It's going to be a long journey.
It's
going to be
run into a lot of hordes.
Half the season is just getting there.
Like I said, they're in the backwoods of Georgia right now, and they ran into that massive sea of zombies.
Yes.
That horde.
Can you imagine in DC, the zombies?
That may be the biggest horde we've seen yet, though. Too. That horde was massive.
I know, but we're in Georgia. I'm saying, it's like backwoods of Georgia, and you get that many zombies. Imagine a city, how it's gonna look. It's gonna be like Atlanta, but like times 2.
You know what would be cool, because they only showed that herd back in episode 4, and then we just kind of forgot about it, right?
Yeah.
It would be neat if in the finale everything comes to a head in or around Terminus, and then as they go and there's all this fighting and whatever's going on amongst the living, they go and they zoom out as the season ends, and we just see that fucking herd on the horizon, man, coming towards Terminus to wipe it out, man. Like, literally just a quarter mile away, you know what I mean? The shit's still going down in Terminus or around it, you know. That would be kind of neat.
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't think, though, that they would introduce Terminus 2 episodes into the final season, final episode, and then just be done with it after the final episode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That'd be too fast, I think. So I think we
they
still have a
gotta
couple.
they gotta leave it at some point. This isn't going to be a permanent settlement by any means.
Right.
They got to get done with it at some point.
I don't think it's a settlement in any sense.
That might be too. Might not
It's an
be.
obstacle, really. I think.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a trap.
So
Every
something
sense
might
of the
happen
word.
to the people that got there now, and then the next season is going to be the conclusion of that. That's how I see it. It'll end by the mid-season finale. That
Look too clean, though. Too damn. Look too
yeah,
clean.
it is. It's way too clean, man. It's too good. It's too many. Like, the gates open. It's just welcoming. Just no one to meet you. No one there. Just one crazy lady barbecuing in the middle of the. The lady had no sense of danger. She's like, "Oh, hello, people with guns. How you doing?"
Way too.
Right.
Because what if it was like Joe's crew got there first and they all held her at gunpoint? Would she still be smiling, just like, "Oh, that's so sweet"?
Just like I'm saying, I'm assuming there's people on the roofs.
If the lady that Rick found in episode 1 of the season was connected to Terminus.
What lady? What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, she died.
Yeah, she died, but
She was kind of crazy.
Talking about the one with the accent?
The one, and Rick was going to offer her an opportunity to go to the prison.
Oh, hi. Oh,
And-
Seamus.
The one that committed seppuku and stabbed.
Yeah.
We saw her zombie, running around during the mid-season finale.
Yeah, we saw her walking around.
Yeah, so. Yes, I don't know if she's any connection. She was just a crazy lady out in the woods,
Yeah.
dragging around her dead
crazy
husband.
lady in the woods, crazy lady in Terminus. There's a bunch of crazy ladies.
There's a lot of crazy ladies, man.
Yeah.
2 little girls that are crazy. One
Two
girl's
kind of
crazy.
people that survive the apocalypse are like rednecks and crazy cat ladies.
Basically, with fucked up.
What if there's this what if they're trying to make this connection? Like, all right, like Lily was cool with walkers. She liked walkers. What if that's how all the people that are running Terminus are? Maybe that's why there's like no guards and stuff to protect against walkers. What if they just like are cool with it?
Well,
Why would it be a shelter then?
Yeah, really.
Well,
I didn't see a lot of walkers in Terminus, bro. So how can it be?
I mean, it's kind of an ongoing thing because
I just want somebody to bring that up in the next episode. If not, like, just say, hey, why are there no people like guards here?
They
Like,
will.
even if Mary comes up with some bullshit reason, like, oh well, we never get herds this far deeper in the woods, or I don't know.
I still want to know why they didn't have a contingency plan up to prison.
Yeah, what was with that? They just kind of they all got on the bus, but I mean, if you're staying in a prison, I'd be like, okay, if shit hits
Obviously
the fan,
had some plan because they got that. The
Stuff
bus was
goes
part of
down.
the plan, dude.
go to like this house, like a mile away or something. Meet us at this place,
Yeah, that's like we were saying. Like they got on the bus, right? So that was part of the plan. The bus was the step 1, but they didn't plan step 2 or 3. Just drive into the highway and see what happens.
Just keep driving.
It's like they have these council meetings, and it's just like, okay, what happens if evacuation? Like, don't worry about that. Spaghetti Tuesdays.
But it's gonna be on Wednesdays.
It's gonna be on.
Oh man, I don't know what the fuck that council was doing.
Man.
Well, Glenn was just talking about Maggie the whole time. Herschel was giving a speech, and it was a pretty boring council meeting, I would think.
Yeah.
Just saying. Let's see comments. And wait, okay. Do you think we'll get an umbrella-like corporation in this world?
Eh.
Umbrella-like corporation. What do you mean?
Umbrella Corporation is like
dealing with high bio monsters and zombies.
Corporation, that's looking to exploit the virus. I don't see how you could really leverage or exploit it though, because most of the world's populace is already dead. All the major cities have already fallen, as far as we know. Unless we find out in season 10 or 12 or so like that like Alaska or some like small country or something or city is holding out somewhere, you know what I mean?
It's going to get more ridiculous at some point, where they're going to introduce some weird concept at some point.
Well, they're going to introduce like an Albert Wesker guy?
Next season.
Now, I could see maybe like if this was like some kind of infection that was started, maybe some company created it, like kind of like a 28 days later deal, and then like it got out of hand and they just couldn't control it anymore, and then it got like spread like wildfire.
No.
I think it was the government experimenting with bombs.
That could be a thing too.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think they ever get to the point where there's actually like a cure on the horizon or anything. But I think maybe you reel in, you dangle the carrot, and then you reel it in with a little bit of information that this was something that was engineered by the government, as a war tactic type weapon. You know what I mean, to suppress, and it just wound up evolving or getting out and it wasn't supposed to, that sort of thing. So I very much think that it's going to be our own government fucked us type of thing.
I think
the one zombie movie that actually explained how this virus started.
They usually don't. Yeah, it's just kind of like all of a sudden, the dead start rising tonight.
It never starts right at the beginning though. It's always like the time skip to like, oh, this is like 3 months later. Like with 28 Days Later, it was like it's from that guy's perspective that was in a coma for like 2 months, like kind of like with Rick's scenario.
Yeah.
We never actually get to see it as it's currently happening.
But just having that mystery out there makes it more interesting, I guess you could say.
Robert Kirkman even said that, like, that's not the point of the series is for them to find a cure. The point of the series is just about them surviving what the world has become. But this is a television show, so it's going to have to end at some point, I'm thinking, before it gets too ridiculous.
That's true. But they're going to milk it for all.
AMC already said they do not want the shit to end anytime soon.
Yeah.
They're making so much money off the show, man.
They have a spin-off series coming. Telltale's making successful games. Anything that has Walking Dead, the name even on it, is selling like hotcakes. So
during Halloween, it was in my Spirit Halloween store, they had like a whole section of just Walking Dead stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like Daryl's vest and Michonne's sword. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool.
So that is pretty cool, man. But I don't know how Michonne's sword's going to do against guys with guns, though. So if they get caught up to by the other group, I don't know what they're going to be able to do with a child, Rick, that's beaten up still to a certain degree.
He's a little bit better. He's a little bit more healed.
He is.
Yeah, he was walking upright a little bit better. So.
He definitely had a broken rib, at least. He was like, so.
Sorry, I just kind of went into a mini coma there for a second, Carl. Sorry.
I don't think he's 100% quite yet.
And can I ask you guys too? I thought that when we saw a few episodes ago, the last time we saw Michonne, Carl, and Rick was hiding under the bed, and that was when Michonne went out with Carl. I thought it was kind of cute that she was trying to warm up to the kid and make him feel better about just life in general, because he's lost his mom and he presumes he's lost his younger sister, and he's a kid and everything, and she's starting to come out of her shell. So I got that. I thought it happened a little too fast, and she went a little bit too much from this dark, brooding swordswoman type person to all of a sudden like this happy-go-lucky, like let's eat easy cheese and shit, right? But when they're walking down the tracks and stuff, and they're talking about candy bars, and he's like, we always share and stuff like that, I was like, you guys have been hanging out for like 2 days. It's like, and I know that they were getting a little bit close before that when she would come back from her runs looking for the governor with comics and stuff like that. But didn't it seem just a little too much like just a black and white flip? You know what I mean? As far as just personality.
The
whole purpose of that scene though was to set up the Daryl's group finding that candy bar, wrapper. And to see
they were on the same. Well, and I think the scene was forced too because we hadn't seen Rick and them in 3 episodes, so it was like, well, we got to put him in at least for a few minutes. And I think that was shoehorned in there just to show them in the episode.
I mean, the only thing you can say with the Michonne thing is like sometime between 3 and 4 they end up bonding a little bit, but we haven't really seen it, so.
Yeah, like I said, I think it would be more of a gradual personality change rather than just a night and day, this dark, brooding type of personality to all of a sudden like, hey, we're fucking besties,
In that one episode with the chocolate pudding, half of it was spent around Michonne trying to like come to peace with herself, like who she is.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, she had that epiphany, like, oh, I need to kind of open up more, but that's still not something like, oh, okay, I get it now. I'm just going to be all nice and happy from now on. Yeah,
it was too much of a happy, you know what I'm saying?
I thought it was too much of a complete 180, you know what I mean? I liked the episode where she came back from the edge of darkness and she decided that being alone wasn't worth it and everything else, but, all of a sudden she just goes from, like, this person to, like, this, like, happy housewife, just bouncing around and bubbly, I don't know, it's really weird. Really odd to see.
A show like that, it really is.
She just took her time with her character development. But
yeah.
That didn't happen.
I mean, if we got a little bit more on our backstory, maybe another episode or 2. But I mean, then again, the season's going slow enough as it is. It's getting to the point. They've been taking their time getting to the point of the season. So this half season, I should say. So I'm not completely against it, but you're definitely right. It seems completely forced the way that Michonne is all of a sudden, yay, I'm nice now. That's how Shatter Candy Bars. And
she had a good balance in the beginning of the season where she was open with the group and more comfortable, but she was still, she still had that stillness. Like she still was pretty quiet for the most part, still did what she needed to do and whatnot. And now she's totally like the nanny, kind of like Glenn's homie. She's Glenn's babysitter. While Rick does what he needs to do.
Glenn?
Carl.
Carl. No, that's
Maggie's Glenn's babysitter. Watching over Glenn. Just saying. But are there any more parts of the episode that we didn't quite cover? Anything that you might have noticed or picked up on? Want to talk about? I think we've covered most of it.
The only thing, and I don't know if we talked about this because I stepped away for a minute here, was with the whole side of Daryl and that group that he's with. What are your guys' thoughts on him staying with that group? I mean, honestly, I understand he probably doesn't want to be alone at this point, but he's got to know after they go and kick the shit out of this guy and put an arrow through his head for trying to plant a rabbit in his bag, and that guy was already trying to start some shit with him. He's got to know that it's not going to end well no matter what with these guys. I mean, he can't really be feeling it right with the whole. I don't.
You would think that he would be less likely to trust them after seeing that. It seemed like he was more trusting of them.
I know, and then he's like, the stubborn is like claimed. He's like buying into it, and I was like, no, don't get sucked down the rabbit hole, brother. I was like, come on, you're smarter than that. You just went and had your moonshine episode with Beth and bared your soul to the world, and I actually felt bad for him a few episodes ago. He bared the brunt of, thinking I could have done something different with this whole governor scenario and everything else. And it's like now you go and it's like you just make one bad decision after another. You know what I mean? It's like you're looking for Beth. Yeah, you're out of breath. You fall down, you collapse, you give up on the train tracks, and all of a sudden the Marlboro men appear around you, and you're just like, fucking flame now. And you're just buying into it with these guys, sleeping in the middle of the woods with barbed wire around you and shit. These guys can't be trusted, and he had to figure out at some point that like this is not going to end well. This is not good news, I don't know.
Do you think he has a choice? I mean, I think if he tries to leave him, though, they'll kill him.
That could be too. Yeah, at this point, it seems like that Joe's taking liking to him. But I like. What's that? Okay, I'm sorry.
I was saying there was in the episode they said that where'd he go? Where'd the new guy go? But there was a time where he could have escaped, and they would.
Oh yeah, because
quite easily.
Yeah. Right, these guys don't seem to give a shit about anything. That's the thing that I don't buy about that whole claimed thing. And I understand what that Joe's saying. He's like, well, if it goes by survival of the fittest, that's a conundrum. What he means by that is that basically these guys are all just going to, they're going to have a whose dick is bigger contest and constantly be fighting and killing each other. And, you know what I mean, constantly. So this way, at least it makes it a little bit more civilized for these bunch of frickin', uncivilized monkeys. And then I like how he says, too, he's like, oh, it seems like the world is getting better, People like us, Daryl, we've always been, we've always just been basically surviving and getting by. And basically he's saying, oh, yeah, it's cool because we were always outside the law and not really doing shit like normal people. Now we just get away with being fucks. You know what I mean? Just being
really.
That's kind of how I felt when he said that.
It's kind of like little devil on Daryl's shoulder, like go back to what you were before, before you met Rick's group. Just act like you were with Merle, and just here you go.
I like the conversation that he had when he asked that Joe where they were going, and he tells him the whole story about Rick, and he's like, yeah, we were holed up in this house and blah blah. And I'm just thinking,
worthless,
so cool,
that worthless piece of walking fecal matter made off with killing Lou, and
yeah, that was great. I was thinking, oh man, that's awesome. He's describing everything about Rick, because a few weeks ago I was like, I'll bet you these fucking guys are looking for Rick now, now that they figured out what happened after the one guy got out.
Oh, so that guy did die.
Yeah,
no, that guy didn't die. No,
Lou died.
Well, the guy that Rick choked out died in the bathroom. The guy that got choked out for the bed, he didn't die. He saw Rick.
No, he just woke up and told everybody, hey, guess what? This is happening.
Okay. That guy, I think he got choked out in the bathroom. So.
Yeah. I didn't notice that for a while, though. That was the same group as in the house. I had to actually look that up. I felt kind of like, wow, yeah, that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I didn't know until Jim, you pointed that out during one of our reviews, so.
I just happened to notice the main guy, Joe, because he was the dude that was standing on the porch when Rick was sneaking around and everything like that. He was sitting out there eating an apple or a pear or something. And I remember watching The Talking Dead. I happened to watch it that night, and they were talking about this character that was on the porch. I guess he's like some character that's been in Sons of Anarchy, and I don't know. I guess he's like a well-established TV actor or something. So a lot of people were hinting at that he would be back in a future episode. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, if they did just choke that guy out, they made it a point to show that dude looking right at Rick under the bed, and then Rick goes and kills one of their own in the bathroom, right? And then that guy turns and comes back, and we hear screaming in the house as Rick's running up. Those guys got to be pissed off. I mean, all they do is rape and pillage and steal and go from house to house and do what they want. Now some dude goes and kills a couple of their own. They're they want blood, man.
Exactly.
So, I mean, old-fashioned vengeance, man.
And they got nothing better to do with themselves anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's not like these guys are contributing to society. They're out looking to hurt people. So it's like, we have an excuse.
They don't even want to go to the Terminus, a place that could.
They're probably just happy with the fact, like, oh, we have a mission. We have something to do now. We could kill this guy and mount his head on, or whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Daryl does in that moment that they meet each other. It's gonna be really good.
Oh, it's gonna be pretty intense. There's gonna be a lot of guns being pointed at people.
Somebody's gonna be shot or die.
Like I said, I don't know how Rick's group.
Yeah, if there's gonna be any bulk casualties in the next episode, it's probably gonna be Joe's gang, because those are half the people we don't care about or even know.
Well, and you got to remember that Rick's the man behind the lines too. He's behind enemy lines, or Daryl is. I mean, he's behind enemy lines because. So I think that they come upon Rick. I think Rick's sleeping, Rick's whatever. I think they come upon him, and that Joe's like, hey, and tries to say something like prophetic, real cool and everything like that. And I think as soon as Daryl sees that it's Rick, man, he acts and takes out a couple of them before they even maybe goes after Joe right away. Or something like that, goes to put a crossbow bolt in him or something, and I don't know. I think that's how it's going to go down, and then it's going to wind up being everybody just kind of ducking and covering, and
Michonne lops the head off or two.
But again, we've got Daryl as the inside man right now, so you know that's going to be played up, real well somehow or another. You know what I mean? It's not just going to be like, oh, you mean you fuckers been looking for Daryl or looking for Rick? He's not just going to be like that. It's going to be like that Joe's not going to see it coming, and Daryl's going to put him down or something.
He's not going to. I don't think he's going to hesitate. Even with him going, claim this episode, I don't think it's going to matter. When it comes to Rick and these fuckers that obviously are fucked up.
Or maybe Daryl will pull some shit and he'll be like, no, you know what? This is one of my people. I claim him. You can't touch him. And maybe that's part of the rules. Maybe you can't touch, something. If he claims him, that's my dude. So
Rick's just down there, and Rick's just down there like, what the hell, Daryl? He's like, it's okay, Rick. I claimed you. It's all good.
Don't worry. I claimed Carl too. And in 6 hours I can claim a third person. Then I'll claim Michonne and her sword. Don't worry.
I got it all here.
You only get 2 claims per day. That's what Joe said in his rules.
So I think that's pretty much most of what we can talk about for this episode. Like I said, any other thoughts that you guys had? I think we covered most of it.
What was the pre-credit sequence that they did? I can't remember what it was. If it was anything important.
The pre-credit sequence. What's that?
The thing they show right before they hit the credits. Sometimes it's something important.
I think it was Abraham sitting with Rose with.
Oh yeah. It was that. Yeah, we already covered that. Yeah. Sometimes it's something important. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. The other time wasn't that important. It was just a little conversation they had.
Yeah, that was just that conversation. Okay. Yeah, I think we covered everything then.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I thought it was entertaining. Yep. Well done, and hopefully the season finale. I don't think it can possibly live up to what the half-season finale was, but at least it'll be an entertaining, hopefully an action-packed episode. That's all I'm hoping for.
Entertaining, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, mainly because you don't have an antagonist like you had, with the governor. I mean, this is a guy that had been a burn our ass since the third or fourth episode of last year when he was introduced, So
right.
We saw him like killing those guys.
So I don't know how they're going to top that one right here, but I think they'll do a nice job though. If there's any indication of the way things have been going, I've felt like I've enjoyed a lot of the episodes this year so far. So
Definitely.
It's set up to be very decent. I know they have stuff to work with. Let's just leave it at that. They have a lot of stuff to work with.
Exactly. They can go a bunch of different ways if they want to. So
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse. A lot worse. But fortunately, it didn't. I'm glad they did pick up the pace in some episodes. So hey.
Yeah, I was kind of half worried that the Terminus would literally be introduced at the last episode, last minute. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that we've got here now, it's good. As long as they continue to show a little bit more. If this is the way where it ends with Terminus, and they only show Rick's group, I'll be so
everyone's going to be angry next week.
I will. You'll see me ranting.
I was expecting it to show up at the very end of this episode, but I was like, either it's going to be a sanctuary or it was like going to be a sanctuary that was already destroyed, and they've been chasing like a ghost the entire time.
Right.
I think this is a cooler setup though, because
Yeah,
that lady looked pretty creepy, and to be honest with you, I bet you that she's got a ragtag group of people going out there luring people in with the signs and everything else, and I guarantee you they're cutting people up in the basement somewhere, But everything looks cool on the surface, you know what I mean? So.
And that might tie into the house that Daryl and Beth were in, and that's why she was captured. It might all tie in together.
That's what I'm hoping for,
Because the house is also very clean, perfectly set up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was almost too perfect. So. It would make sense if that's also part of it. That's my thought about Beth and why maybe she's not, around anymore. We'll see. We'll see when what happens. So
they're all sitting there eating a Beth sandwich.
Oh, sorry, blonde hair still left in there.
Daryl pulls a blonde hair out of his mouth and goes.
He's just like Donna.
No more singing, man. Oh man. But I think on that note, we could wrap this up. So everyone wants to just say their goodbyes, their final thoughts on this episode and stuff. We'll start off with Phoenix Kyman.
I mean, well, this episode was really good though. There was a few things I didn't like, so I'm hoping that the next episode, from what we see in the previews, I think things are gonna go down between Rick's group and what's gonna happen in Terminus. So. We're probably going to get more focus on the other group, not just one group. So, yeah.
All right. What do you think, Rick?
Good episode. I hope the finale, just gives us something cool, something nice. And if it does it, fuck it, we got Game of Thrones. So, moving on.
Game of Thrones in 2 weeks. Man, I can't wait for that.
But I mean, hopefully Terminus. I think it's gonna be a cliffhanger. Could be a Beth sandwich ender, who knows? So we'll wait and see.
Bethwich. Better than a manwich. Okay, we got Jim. Say your thoughts, sir.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to next week's episode, the finale. I think that I'm hoping that they will pull it together. I think they'll do a nice job, and that they've done for the most part an impeccable job this year. A couple episodes, that I think we could have done without, or I would have liked to rearrange a little bit. But all in all, man, I'm just hoping that it comes to a head and we get to see some shit hit the fan, some good action next week, and really I'm sure they're going to leave us on a great cliffhanger, you know what I mean? Maybe finding out that, Rick finds out that his baby daughter's still alive, but, is going to have trouble getting to her, and that maybe it's left off on that, something like that, or that Beth's alive when maybe you thought that she was dead, or whatever, or vice versa, But at this point, it's anyone's guess, so I can't wait till next week.
We'll see. Okay, and finally, our guest today, Mr. Teching 101.
Yes. Well, yeah, it was a good episode. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. Like, all I can really hope for the season finale is they at least gather more of these groups together. We get at least maybe not all of everybody meeting up at once, like at Terminus, but at least like Daryl and Rick's group meeting up and they solving their conflicts, and then Carol and her group meeting up at Terminus with the Abraham and stuff. That's all I can really hope for is they resolve that in some way. And like I said, they have a lot of stuff to work with. They can go in a bunch of different directions. And it should be a pretty solid season finale, I believe.
All right. Very well said. I agree with all that. If you guys enjoyed this live stream, then definitely throw it a thumbs up. Definitely to support the channel. It's always appreciated. If you enjoyed, like I said, this as well, be sure to subscribe to everybody in here. I'll put the names of everybody in the stream in the description, or links, depending on whether or not I'm lazy or not. We'll see how that goes. I might be a little lazy, but either way, you know what I'm saying. Leave some comments in the comment section below. We do appreciate those comments. A lot of good comments I was reading off today. So if you have any other thoughts that we couldn't quite get to, then leave them afterwards, and I'll do my best to comment and respond to those comments. And yeah, that's it for us today. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Walking Dead, the review of Walking Dead. We're out. Peace.
Sayonara.